Good morning. We are going to be covering lesson 7.5, which is factoring and solving polynomial equations. And so we're going to be able to factor quadratic form polynomials. So I want to kind of emphasize that. And we're going to use factor by grouping to solve and graph these polynomials, okay? And solving and graphing is the big thing that we're going to be doing here. So to solve and graph these, we're going to want to find the x-intercept. So that's, when f of x equals 0, we're finding our x-intercept, okay? And then we're also going to be looking for the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is going to be what x is when y equals 0. So f of 0 equals whatever it's going to be equal. Okay? And then we need to also figure out what the leading term is, because the leading term is going to help us to determine how the graph starts and stops. So what are its end or its end lines, okay, where it goes. And we'll look at that here in just a minute. All right, and then we must show the factor steps. You must, I should say. So it's absolutely important that you must show the factored steps. For credit. Because if you just put this into your calculator to solve, which you can, and I'm going to be showing you that to do your checking, if that's all you're doing, you aren't learning factoring. And so we want to make sure that you're learning factoring in this. That's the reason for making sure that you solve it that way. Okay. Now, let's look at our first grouping. And so again, we want to solve, which means we want to figure out what x is when y equals 0. So we want the x-intercepts, right? And graph the polynomial. And we want to use a calculator to check that, as I said before. All right? So now, what's the y-intercept? We also want the y-intercept. So x-intercepts, we want the y-intercept. And to find the y-intercept, we said that we would be looking at what x is when y is 0. So f of 0 would equal, well, x is going to be 0 now, 0 to the 4th minus 25 times 0 instead of x plus 144. And you can see from looking at this, if the first two terms are 0, you're just left with a 144 over here. This is your y-intercept, okay? Y-intercept, very important that you know that. Now, if that's the case, then you should know over here that this is also your y-intercept. The constant is your y-intercept, all right? Okay, so now let's look at the leading term. So the leading term, what's it going to be? Or what is it, I should say. So the leading term starts out as positive, right? And its power is going to be 4. And when that's even. So if it's even, then whenever you have even powers as your leading term, then that means that your positive slope would be up and up. Your negative slope would be down and down, okay? So, important to know going through this. And so let's go ahead and we know that this leading term is positive, so it's going to be, the up and up is what we're going to be using when we graph. All right, so we've got 3 terms here. 3 terms. That's an important thing to understand, because you can't use the grouping method on this, right? you're going to have to do something different. So what are we going to do? Can we do the GCF? Well, let's see. Is there a greatest common factor here we can factor out? No. So GCF isn't going to work. What would be the next thing we could do? Well, we can double bubble. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So let's set this to 0. 0 equals, and then we're going to double bubble x to the 4th minus 25 x squared plus 144. Okay, so looking at this, all right, so x squared times x squared gives you x to the 4th, and 144, obviously, that's a perfect square too. I mean, you could say it's 12 times 12, but we have to find two terms that when added together equal negative 25. So obviously there are going to be two negative numbers there. And I just happen to know, and I'm just going to give this to you for the sake of time, that you can divide 16 into 144. So those are the factors we want to choose because we want to be able to, whoops, let's just clear this. We want to be able to add those two terms together, 16 and 9 equal 25. So let's just see what we have here. Let's go over here, clear. So 144 divided by 16 gives you 9. So there's your two terms. So we're going to write this out as 0 equals x squared and so minus 16 and minus 9. All right, and so then we're going to go ahead, let's go ahead with the x squared minus 16, and let's just double bubble that. So we're going to double bubble that. And so obviously you can graph, I'm sorry, not graph more, you can factor more. So let me write that down, factor more. And the answer is yes here. So we will do that, we factor more. So we get, in this case, 0 equals x to the 4. Well, let's see. Let's do it this way. So I've got x and an x, and then negative 16 divides up into positive and negative 4. This is really difference of squares. All right, and so obviously over here, x is going to equal negative 4, and x is going to equal positive 4. So we have our first two solutions for x when y equals 0. Now, x squared minus 9 here, we can do the same thing. We can double bubble that. But you notice we could use the square root method here. And the reason we could use that is because if we make x squared, well, if we add 9 to both sides, we get x squared equals 9. So we have a positive number, and you can always take the square root of a positive without trouble. So let's do that. Take the square root of, we're going to use the square root method. We're going to take the square root of x squared minus 9. So x squared minus 9 equals 0, and so that means x squared equals 9, and then we're going to take the square root of x squared and square root of 9, and that means x equals, and then remember you get a positive and negative answer, so positive, negative 3. Okay, so I now have my solutions, right, for what x is when y equals 0. And I also, don't forget, I have the y-intercept up here. The y-intercept is 144. So I'm going to go ahead and graph this. And going to switch over to pencil as well. If I make a boo-boo, it's easier to do something to correct it. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do tick marks here, which is what we normally do. And I'm only going to do 4 on the left and 3 on the right, because this is -4, this is -3, and then I've got a 4 and a 3 over here. Well, let's go all the way out. Let's see. Put a 4 here. And then I've got a -4, positive 4 and positive 3. So positive 4. See, this is why I want to use my eraser. I can fix things. So positive 3, positive 4. All right, and then I said I've got a y-intercept of 144. Now that's way the heck up here, and so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to change my scale and put 144 up here, because we just want a representative example of what this graph is going to look like. All right, so here's all my possible solutions. These all make like this. Okay, so now we said that we've got a positive leading term, so our answer is going to be up and up. So that means I'm going to have an arrow that's going to look like this and like this. Now I've kind of scrunched my room. Let's move this down a little bit. So we're going to have a graph that looks like this. I'm going to move this over. Okay. All right. So there's your graph. Now let's very quickly look at it on your graphing calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and type in, let's clear this, I'm going to type in the y equals spot the equation. So let's see, x caret 4 minus 25x plus 144. Okay, and so then I'm going to graph it over here. And let's make sure obviously that doesn't look too good. X4 minus 25x plus 144. So I'm going to have to change, since this graph looks way up there, I'm going to have to obviously change the y-intercept, and I'm also going to have to change the x-intercepts. So let's go over to this window. And let's see, my x minimum and max is at 10 and -10. That's okay. I'm going to change the x max over here to 150. Oh, it is at 150. What happened here? Let's just clear this. Let's clear the graph. And we're going to do clear all, I think. So let's see, the y equals, clear that. The window, let's use the original settings. So at y min is -10, y max, that's what's going on. That's not what I wanted to do. Back to the window. Clear. Okay, -10, +10. -10. I'm going to go back to the standard mode. Positive. I'll do this again. Window, minimum temp, negative. So -10, down 1. Why is it doing that? -10, +10, x minimum. X maximum. Try this one more time. And so negative 10. Well, I think I know what I did wrong. And negative, the maximum is going to be positive 10. Okay. Now I got my standard graph. Okay, let's do it one more time. So, x to the 4. So, x caret 4 minus 25x. X plus 144. Let's double check. X to the 4th minus 25x. Okay, looks like that should graph right. Now, this is going to show it, hopefully in standard form. Oh, well, you know what? My graph is not graphing. Why is it not graphing? Y equals. All right, let me double check this. Okay, so it appears, ladies and gentlemen, that my graphing calculator is malfunctioning. In any event, this is the correct thing. You could show it in the graph, and I will show that to you at another time. Let's go ahead and finish this. Over here, we've got leading term that's negative. So obviously over here, we're going to be using the down and down method. So negative 2x, 20, and negative 18. You know what? We also have a greatest common factor. So GCF. And that's negative 2. So let's take negative 2 x to the 4th plus 20 squared minus 18, and we'll divide, and then we're going to have that set to 0. So 0 equals, divide by 2. So we get 0 equals, and this would be x to the 4th. 20 divided by 2 is, and we're dividing by negative 2, right? Negative 2. So this is negative 2. And that leaves you with a positive x to the 4th. Here, 20 divided by negative 2 is negative 10. And then we have x squared. And then negative 18 divided by negative 2 is positive 9. All right. So now it looks like, we have a double bubble situation. So we're going to go ahead and do the double bubble. And so let's put our negative 2 out here. And then we have x to the 4 and x to the 4. So that's x to the 2 times x to the 2 makes x to the 4. And then what times what equals 9 when added together equals 10. Let's see, our choices are 9 times 1, negative 9 times negative 1. Well, there it is right there, because that adds up to negative 10. So we would have negative 9 and negative 1. Okay, and so now let's set these to equal to 0. So negative 2, does negative 2 equal 0? So this one goes away. Here we have x squared minus 9. Now, and this is x squared minus 1. So both of these, when we set them to equal to 0, they would both end up x squared with a positive number. So x squared equals 9 here, and x squared equals 1 here. Let's use that method, that square root method. So x squared equals 9, x squared equals 1. We know that that's where it's leading to, so that's where we're going to set it. And then square root of x squared is square root of 9, and so x equals plus or minus 9. And then over here, square root of x squared equals the square root of 1, and so x equals plus or minus 1. All right, so we've got, oh, this is not 9 here, I'm sorry, this is plus or minus 3. Got to be careful when we're doing our square roots. All right, so we have plus or minus 3 and plus or minus 1. And let's go ahead and use that, our graph here. I'm mad that my graphing calculator malfunctioned on us, but we'll survive. All right, so in this case, our y-intercept is negative 18, so it's down here somewhere, negative 18. And then we have positive and negative 3, so this is negative 3, this is approximately positive 3, this would be, this is approximately positive 1, this is approximately negative 1. All right, and so because again we have a negative leading term, our graph is going to go down and down, so it's going to end up down here somewhere in here. And so we're going to start down, we're going to go up, over, down, almost went too far, down, up, and over. And so I did a miserable job in doing my curves here, but there you go. That's basically what you end up with. So you've got here, when your leading term is positive like this, you end up with something that looks like a W when you have when you have a positive result, and down here it's negative. And this is where the leading terms are even. And this is even and positive. This is even and negative. Right? Now, this next one, we have odd terms. So we've got 3 and 3 here, so those are odd terms. And so as a result, your graph is going to look a little bit different. You're going to end up basically with a graph where, since the leading term is positive, it's going to start down and it's going to go up. Okay? So this is a positive slope for a odd-termed leading degree. Okay? And then obviously it's going to be negative over here because I've got a negative leading leading term. So that's negative. All right, and so so our leading term is positive x cubed. All right, and so we're going to rewrite this as 0 equals x cubed plus 3x squared. And we're going to split this in half because we have 4 terms. So we've got negative 4x minus 12. And so we're going to, over here, we're going to divide by, let's see, we have an x cubed here and an x squared here. We can divide by x squared. So we've got a GCF that we're going to take out on the left. And so that's going to leave us with x squared out here by itself times, and then it would be x plus 3. And on this side we can divide out a negative 4, and that's going to lead us with x plus 3. So we can rewrite this as x squared times x plus, I'm sorry, let me rewrite that. We can take our x plus 3 and put that out there first, and then we can take our x squared and multiply that as x squared minus 4. Okay, so we've got the 2 terms here now showing here. All right, so the x plus 3, we can make that equal to 0. So x equals 3. And then over here, notice we've got, again, a perfect square situation. So we can set that up as x squared minus 4 equals 0. and take the square root. Well, first we'll add 4 to both sides. And so we have x squared equals 4. Now we can take the square root of both sides. And so we get x equals plus or minus 2. Okay? All right, so, and this is negative 3 here. X equals negative 3. Because we started out with x plus 3 equals 0. It's x equals negative 3. All right, so we'll go ahead and graph this. So we have okay, so we're going to start down and we're going to go up, and we've got negative 3 here, and we got negative 2, and we have positive 2. And then we also have a y-intercept of negative 12, so it's down here somewhere. So drawing our graph again, we're going to start down, so it's down, and we're going to end up up. So it's going to be up over here somewhere. So it's going to go look like this. So we've got this kind of wavy line thing going. Whenever you have, again, an odd degree, this is the way your graph is going to look. Okay. All right. Now we're going to do the last one. So leading term is negative x cubed. Okay. So the graph, as we said, is going to go down. So we're going to reload. Is there anything I can divide out of this first? Any GCF? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so let's do, oh, but wait, there's a negative 1 up in front of this. Let's get those out. So we're gonna divide the whole thing. GCF, we're gonna divide it by negative 1. So 0 equals negative 1 times, and then we're going to divide out x cubed plus 2x squared minus x minus 2. There we go. Okay. Well, we're going to divide it out, but first we got to, that's the answer. So let's redo that. So let's just rewrite. We're going to divide it out of x cubed minus, well, no, I was right. Well, let's do it this way now. Let's do it this way. X cubed minus 2x squared plus x plus 2 divided by negative 1. Now that's right. So 0 then equals, this negative 1 is factored out, so it's negative x cubed plus 2x squared minus x minus 2. All right. Now, there's 4 terms here, so we can divide this in half. So I got, well, first of all, does 0 equal negative 1? No. So that goes away. Then I can factor out of this an x squared. So I'm going to do that. So x squared times, and I'm left with x minus 2. Okay? And over here, I can divide out a negative 1. And that leaves me with x minus 2. All right, so now I can take the x minus 2's. There. That's our first multiplier. And then I've got times x squared minus 1. Okay, so this x minus 2 now, that equals 0. So x equals positive 2. We already said this one is gone. We've got this one here, and then let's use the square root method here, so we're going to take x squared minus 1 equals 0, so x squared equals positive 1, square root of x squared equals the square root of 1, so x equals plus or minus 1. All right, so let's and so we got negative 2 over here, negative 1 here, and 1 over here. And then we've got positive 2 as our y-intercept. And we're going down, so we're starting up this time, and we're going to end up down here somewhere. So this should look like this. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's your answers for these. Let me move this up so you can take a picture of it, or you can see it at least. And that's the whole shoot match. All right, have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye now.